Good morning, and welcome to today's Moss Adams webcast, NetSuite Cash Flow Forecasting. Before we begin, I'm going to play a brief housekeeping video.
Welcome and thanks for joining us. Moss Adams webcasts are designed to help elevate your business performance. Transform your future for the better with advisory solutions tailored to your vision and supported by our collective technical resources. Our presentation will start in a few moments. Before we begin, here are a few things to keep in mind. You can customize how you both view our presentation and interact with the presenter. For better viewing, close all other applications and turn up your speaker volume. You can also adjust window size and placement or enter full screen mode using the controls at the top of the window or dragging the bottom right-hand corner to resize. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a series of icons, each relating to a different aspect of our session. You can download a PDF copy of today's slides from the slide deck and handouts widget. You can ask our presenter questions during the webcast by typing a question in the Q&A window and clicking Submit. We'll do our best to answer all questions during the presentation or follow up via email. If you experience technical difficulty during today's presentation, refresh your browser by hitting the F5 key. As a reminder, the presentation you're about to see is not legal, investment, or accounting advice. We encourage you to seek the counsel of a professional service provider to apply this content to your specific circumstances.
Hi, folks. My name is Guffey, and I'm a solution architect here at Moss Adams. So a little bit about myself. For the last 27 years, I've basically been doing software implementations. And so for the last 10 years, I've been dedicated to the NetSuite space. I spent 7 years at Oracle NetSuite and the last couple of years here at Moss Adams. And so today we're going to be talking about cash flow forecasting. I know that this is going to be a challenge. I know that some of the tools in NetSuite can be a little bit tough to use. And so I'm going to give you some of my experiences about this. We're going to talk about how we may be able to leverage this tool to make sure that you're getting good cash flow forecasting. So as we get started, please go ahead and submit questions to me, and I'd be more than happy to take them during the presentation. I'm also going to be doing a live demo once I go through a couple of slides. And so, please, let's make this an interactive conversation. All right. So our agenda today is basically we're going to talk a little bit about cash management, problems that we can solve, making sure that you have the correct data, et cetera. We're going to take a look at the Cash 360 dashboard, how it works, how we set it up, how we can configure it, and plus some other tips that I've been learning as I've been showing this to customers and working with my customers on for the last couple of years. We'll talk about a couple of the cash flow reports, how we can make sure that you're using those and leveraging them to make sure that you're getting very accurate information to be able to make cash flow decisions. And then we're also going to be able to talk a little bit about how we can include some external data to enhance your cash flow reporting, because we know sometimes that NetSuite has a little bit of a hard time including that kind of information, and it sort of makes it so that you have to do some kludgy things to get good data out of the system. So what are the problems that are inherent with poor cash flow forecasting? I mean, basically, it's that the data is not timely, right? We want to make sure that we have timely data, et cetera. Data, it might not be accurate, so I have some tips around that. Reports that come from disparate systems, and so not having a full picture of your cash position, and then processes that don't support accurate capture of cash requirements. So the way that we solve those is that NetSuite always exists in a real-time state of full consolidation across all of your subsidiaries. So that's extremely important to remember. You have to put data into NetSuite to be able to get intelligence out of NetSuite. And so we'll talk about the different kinds of transactions that will affect your cash flow reporting and how you can even add additional data to make sure that you're getting a full picture of your cash position. Sometimes your data might not be accurate. Now, one of the ways that we can make sure that it is accurate is by using NetSuite to create transactions and then having those transactions influence our cash flow reporting. Sometimes reports come from different disparate systems. You might have a brokerage account, you might have a treasury management system, you might have lending and loans out there that will affect your cash position. And so we'll talk about how we might be able to use and leverage some of that information in the new Cash 360 functionality. And then also processes that don't support accurate capture of cash requirements. Let's make sure that we're using everything, all of the tools that are in NetSuite to be able to get the information that we need out of the system. Now, what is cash management? And so cash management, the way that NetSuite handles it is it's basically a new dashboard that can monitor receivables, payables, and available cash in real time to help customers improve your cash flow visibility. And so customers are also able to review current cash flow trends and a rolling 6-month cash flow forecast to enable more informed decision making. So basically, they're giving you a graphical tool that helps you understand what's going on. It took me a little while to figure out how to install it and make sure that it's working correctly. There are a lot of parameters, and I'm going to go through and show you on how you might be able to adjust some of the periods that you're evaluating your cash flow, et cetera. And so, but it's getting better and better with each release. And so, and then when it comes to cash flow forecasting, this is a new tool that does help customers develop a more accurate forecast by incorporating multiple data points. So funding sources, planned expenditures, sales forecast, and billing schedules. They can all apply, and we can apply historical averages to current AR and AP transaction data. So this is a configurable solution that enables customers to incorporate one-time cash inflows and outflows, which is really neat. I've been playing with it a lot lately, and I think it can help a lot of you, especially when it comes to thinking about different ways that you might work on financing, et cetera. And then work on the forecasting process itself, which can allow you to project your cash needs out up to 6 months. So the Cash 360 app includes real-time cash projections. It has charts and graphs built into it. They're actually very usable. Some of them are clickable, some of them are not, but it does give you a nice graphical, quick glance look at what your cash position is. You can look at current transaction balances, payables, and receivables. We'll look at all of those different reports and talk about what they're showing you so that you can decide, hey, wait a minute, this might not be a real receivable. We might be pushing things out. What is it looking like? Or is this one overdue, et cetera? We'll look at some pie chart summaries for AP and AR to see how you're doing, which can influence if you're really going to be able to trust your cash flow forecasting, how we can do cash flow projections per subsidiary. So, the multi-subsidiary capabilities in NetSuite are extremely strong, real-time consolidation, et cetera. So we'll take a look at that. And then view cash projections at the consolidated level, and then click on links to view invoices and bills. Make sure, just take advantage of the things that we really love about NetSuite, which is the ability to, have a unified database that all of this data lives in so that we can actually do drill downs all the way to source transactions, et cetera. So this is what the Cash 360 dashboard looks like. And so you can see that it basically at the top, it talks about, it has some tiles that gives us real-time information about what our cash balance is, and then any changes from the last time we checked it, accounts payable balances, accounts receivable balances, really nice projections for that's in a graphical format with all of the dates, et cetera. So that we can really just keep an eye on it. A reminders portlet here to make sure that we understand where everything, if anything is happening that we need to take immediate action on, approvals and things like that. I always say that the reminders portlet is probably the most important thing on every dashboard. It's what keeps things from falling between the cracks so that we make sure we understand exactly how things are going to be happening, what we're going to be working on, and just not disappointing people, right? That's an extremely important part of serving our customers. And then, of course, we have the reports that do come in the dashboard. We'll be taking a look at those in real time during the demo. And so this is just the rest of the dashboard. I love the pie charts at the bottom. As you start seeing and starting to understand how you apply this to your business intelligence, right? Are my 90-day, 90-day overdue transactions, receivables, how big are they? Are they really starting to affect really what my cash flow, my anticipated cash flow might be? Those are kinds of things that should be influencing your cash flow decisions, being able to understand if you can take on more burden, et cetera. So we'll talk a little bit about these. And then the features that come with the dashboard. So you can forecast your period preference to days, weeks, or months. I love this part. This lets you see the impact of future cash inflow and outflow on the company's cash positions during these various periods. It's fascinating how it just does it in real time. Automate forecasts based on your general ledger history. And so you can define account categories. I've been playing with this quite a bit in the last couple of months with some of my customers. I have some customers that do have some significant cash flow concerns, to say the least. And so we've been talking a lot about how we can actually enhance their transactions so that they can get a better picture of what their cash position really might be in the upcoming periods. The ad hoc cash inflow and outflow transactions. So this is fascinating. And actually, I when I started playing with it, I showed this to a customer and I said, listen, this is a good way where you can start fiddling with your cash flow, right? Change where you might be able to take a little bit more burden on, pull something back out. And so I'll show you how I play with that and how you might be able to do that too. All right, looks like I have a question. So is the weekly cash projection based solely on current AP or AR in NetSuite? If so, how helpful if it doesn't? So this is what I talked about when it came to making sure that if NetSuite doesn't know about a transaction, it can't forecast a transaction. Now, that ad hoc tool that I was talking about just a few minutes ago, if you know that you have a big expenditure coming up, for example, you can use that ad hoc tool to put in the date for that expenditure so that you can see it. But NetSuite can't report on what it doesn't know, right? And so this is where I'm saying, if you know that you're going to have a receivable way down the road, if you know that you're going to have a big purchase way down the road, then you may need to establish a transaction in NetSuite for that anticipated date if you want this the Cash 360 dashboard to really work for you. But you can also use this ad hoc tool to make some temporary decisions or at least get a glimpse of what that might look like. Let's see what else we have in here. All right, good. I think that's all. View the forecast details table to show projection of financial inflows and outflows. So the data in the table enables you to predict your company's cash requirements and analyze your company's liquidity status. We'll take a look at that. And then installment transactions and cash projections. And so I love that ad hoc tool. Once again, sometimes it's hard to represent a loan in NetSuite. You might not have all of your loans in there, a lease or whatever. And so for that reason, you can use this ad hoc tool to put that payment in there so that it does make that reduction. You can see what your actual cash position is going to be. And so the barriers to successful cash flow forecasting, that's exactly what this question was about, right? If there's just not enough data in the system, NetSuite can't report on what it doesn't know. And so the earlier you can get a transaction in there, the better. I actually have a customer that cuts all of their invoices, all of their receivables in January for the entire year, anticipated receivables. And so so at least they know where they stand when it comes to cash flow forecasting. All right. Can you import data into the ad hoc tool with Excel? Not as far as I can tell. It's not a hard tool to use, so don't shy away from it. If you have a lot of things that you have to put in there, it may take a little hunting and pecking. But for example, like yesterday when I was just going through a couple of scenarios with another customer, I said, I started saying, all right, well, you have these 3 loans, and you're considering 2 other leases. It just took me a minute to put each one in. right, in this ad hoc tool. And so it's not a big burden on you, especially if you're trying to analyze what your cash position might be if you do take on additional burden. And then incomplete configuration. And so we'll take a look at the configuration. I want you to see this. These account categories are fascinating. The way that they work in real world, you can group accounts together so that you can see inflows and outflows based on different accounts. And so I think it's a really handy tool. It is not, there are a lot of great third-party tools out there. I've evaluated a lot of them, and I know that some people are doing some extremely good work, with full integration with your lending institutions and your brokerage accounts. One took into account ZBA and sweep accounts, all of the good stuff when it came to managing their cash flow. And so there are some big tools out there. NetSuite can help you to get a glimpse of what that is, and then decide on, is that going to be enough or not? All right, let's jump into the demo. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Perfect. All right, so we popped into it. So I already have the cash dashboard up, so you can see my cash position here. And then all of the different actions that I can take: view and approve invoices, view bills, et cetera. Take a look at my summaries and my categories, et cetera. We're going to look at all of this. You can see that right now I'm running this for my subsidiary for United States West, but I can also change my subsidiary context at any time. I want to start on my consolidated view. And so here's all of my consolidation, right? Now I could take a look at my different cash forecast and see by period how things are going to be progressing. So I have this on a week period. We're going to take a look at preferences here in just a moment so that you'll see how we can affect this and get different glimpses of how things work in the system. And then we get a week of report, right? So week of, and then inflows and outflows and the forecast positions for each of those. And you could see, just gives you nice, clear, understandable information. And at any time you can go back and check a different subsidiary, et cetera. So, I just love that you can do it at the individual forecast, the individual sub, or at your completely consolidated subsidiary forecast. So, all right, back to the consolidated. Now, as I scroll on down my dashboard, like I said, I think the pie charts here can be really a handy tool for just trying to grasp. As you're running your business and just wanting to understand how you're doing day by day, dashboards like this can be extremely handy tools. So by looking at this and understanding that my 61 to 90 day slice is very small, right? And so I can pretty much trust that the aging for my receivables is going to be pretty accurate, and I should expect that I'm going to collect on a significant amount of it. Same thing with my payables. I have very few overdue payables. I do have a few, and so when it comes right down to it, I'm going to be able to pay. I'm planning on paying everything that is due at this point. And so once again, just being able to glimpse at something and get a feel for where I stand, understanding that in general my business is current. Right. And I can't see any questions right now. So Talia, if you'll let me know if you see anything. Now, the cash forecast itself, this is a little bit deeper view of what we were just looking at. So you can see that I have account categories, my weeks here, opening balances, undeposited or future period funds, right? All of them have been outlined. I have inflows that I can check on, and plus I have one of my ad hoc checks that I wanted to do here. So I have an inflow coming in from a private equity loan, I think, that will come in during these weeks. And so this way that I can see how that would affect it. And I'll show you how to set these up there. It is really easy to just go ahead and change them, to do things for different loan amounts, et cetera. Same thing with my outflows. United States West is where I have most of my account categories and everything set up here. And then I have a couple of ones that I stuck in, just as ad hoc things. So employee appreciation. I know that I have a, Christmas party or something coming up, so I'm going to have a cash expenditure there. I know that I have just a temporary loan that I may have to pay, or a temporary lease that I'm going to have to pay at these 2 weeks. And so this is a little ad hoc tool that I think can add real value, especially if you're trying to make a decision about, can I take on a little more burden? What happens if I shift this payment further down in the schedule? Things like that. It can help give you a little bit of additional information. Once you learn how to play with the tool, it just takes a couple of minutes to set these things up. And that's why I think that it's a decision-making tool, a quick decision-making tool. It can at least tell you if there's something there so that you can, do some deeper research if you need to. And then net balances and closing balances as it all comes in. So all of this is set up under the Preferences tab. And so the Preferences tab has a couple of really interesting things here. So I have 5 days, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12, 3 months, 6 months, right? And so every time I change these, then every graph, everything else will change based on my selection here. So if I'm running really tight and I'm really trying to manage my cash for the next 5 days or 4 weeks, payroll's a concern. I just worked with a customer that just, is having some significant cash flow issues right now. They want to make sure they can make the next 2 payrolls. They're looking at 4 weeks, just things like that. So if things are really getting a little bit tight, tighten up your period and take a look. And then this can at least give you a feel for what's coming. What can I take action on? What might I be able to defer? What payable can I push out farther? Things like that. So, so just use these periods. That can be really helpful when it comes to understanding exactly where you stand. Now, account categories are very interesting. And so they allow you basically to group, additional information. It's really, really easy to do. So in the financial center, then I go over to account categories and select new. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up. So what I can do here is just put in a test and then the type of account category. So what am I going to be doing here? Is it payables? Is it receivables? And so then I just go into my chart of account down here and it pulls up on my chart. I can pick out what accounts that I want to include in my cash forecasting and then create a category that then shows up on all of my reports, right? It either pulls in the inflow, it pulls in the outflow. So just a really super easy way to get information into the system. I love using these cash categories. All right, so now as we do this, I also have the ability to put in ad hoc. This is that little tool that I was telling you about. So don't overlook the Preferences tab. So many times people don't think about it, just doing little things. If you have a sandbox, it's even better, play with it in there. But this one you could do in production because really you're just reporting here. So what I can do is just type in, summer picnic, right? So I know that I'm going to have a summer picnic coming up. The date that I want this payable to be is going to be July 4th, right? There we go. And then how much am I going to spend on it? $5,000. And then what type is it? It's going to be an outflow. And then it's only going to occur once. And the recurrence type is daily, right? So, and then I add that. Now, this will show up on all of my reports. And so this gives me the ability. So if I go back in here, set this for 6 months, and then I go back into my cash forecast, I can see that item show up in my cash forecast. And then I know, when it's going to hit, how it's going to affect my, hold on. Let me refresh it. There we go. Oh, yeah. Hold on. I'm not out. Oh, that's why I'm not out far enough. And so it's only showing me the next 6 weeks. And so it's not refreshing for the 6 months. So that summer picnic would show up in this column, and then I would be able to see exactly how it was going to affect me that particular week. Back on the dashboard itself, the rest of the dashboard is basically meant to help you manage the micro part of these transactions, right? My AP summary, my AR aging summary, viewing bills and things. And so it's basically the same reports that you use on a daily basis, right? So this is a billing report. I can see all of my invoices for the period that's been selected, and then it has everything in the system. So I could just go through, manage that. My AP aging summary, I can view my detail here. Everything is drillable, right? So that I can go down, I can take a look, make sure that I can check to see if anything may be overdue, etc. So it is just a really invaluable look at the system, so that as I'm trying to fine tune my cash needs, I have access to all of the information that I need. Same thing with my AR summary. All of my balances, etc., are in the system. All right. So that's a good look at exactly what this does. Like I told you, the ability for you to run this at all of the different subsidiary levels, right? So I can do my parent. There we go. Maybe I could do my parent. There it is. All right. And so now I have all of my information in the system. I could just go through and take a look at everything that's going to affect my parent for the period that I'm evaluating. So just giving me as much information as possible. And so another question is this direct or indirect cash flow? And so NetSuite doesn't call it out exactly. As far as I can determine, this is a direct cash flow method. It's not indirect. And so even though I believe that indirect affects, and takes into account like net income and things like that, I can't find anything here that lets me, that makes me think that it's indirect. So I do believe that this is direct forecasting. All right. Okay, folks, and so that's what I had for today. Any questions or anything else that comes through? If not, Talia, I'm good to go.
Awesome. Yeah, Rocky, it does look like we have a couple questions for you to answer underneath here.
Okay. All right, hold on, let me get back into it. There we go. All right. Is it possible to set groups as well for the subsidiaries, saying for a regional forecast view? You know what? I have not tried that, but guess what? Let's try it. No. So that'd be a no. Looks like it's single subsidiary at a time. All right. Next question. I wish this were available for the standard edition. Have you checked? So you're saying that you don't have a Suite Success edition. I believe that it is only in Suite Success editions at this point. Check though. If you've been upgraded to 25.1, I think they're propagating it out to every edition at some point. You do have to add a permission in your role, and then you have to actually add the dashboard. And so go through your documentation. It gives you pretty clear instructions. So can you connect it to your bank accounts and your ERP system? Does it have AI functionality? I wish it had AI functionality. I have a feeling, I know that I saw that on the roadmap when I was at Sweet World last year. So I don't know how that's going to affect Cash 360, but they said that AI was being brought more to bear with the 360 functionality, that they're doing all around with Vendor 360, Item 360, and all that stuff. Tried to install in subsidiaries are required. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Didn't realize that was a limitation. Let's see. When it comes to banks, your bank account should be feeding this. So if you have a bank feed in NetSuite, then that should be reflected in your NetSuite instance. Then that should be reflected in Cash 360. Let's see what else we have here. Is this module, let me see. Oh, hold on a minute. Is it possible to set groups? No, I already read that one. Is this module works only if you're using NetSuite for accounting? Yes, it does, right? So not CRM or anything. This tool comes with core NetSuite. So as far as I know, there's no additional cost. Instead of subsidiary specific, I have project specific. No, not yet. I don't see anything in here that would lead me to believe, boy, that would be a nice feature. I know a lot of people that would like that. Actually, I think that there may be a Project 360 Suite app coming, and so maybe it'll have it in there. So keep your eyes open for that one. Is the cash category logic applied to the physical payment records in NetSuite or the related AR AP transaction? I believe that it's only on the transaction level. So it says, if I have a vendor bill for rent and I want to create a cash category for rent, will the tool reflect this future outflow as rent based? No, unless if you paid the bill, then yes, right? But if you haven't paid the bill, then no. Is 6 months the maximum for? Yes, it is. I know. I asked the same thing, and that's too bad because it would be really super cool to be able to do it for a year. For the account categories, does that work already with the recorded accounting entries for the bank statement, or do you have a bank statement line categorization abilities? Recorded accounting entries for the bank statement, or do you have a bank statement line categorization abilities? I don't know that one. I'll follow up on that. All right, I have your name. Thank you. Does the cash forecast pick up any outstanding purchase order commitment based on the terms? As far as I can tell, yes. And so, so it looks to me like purchase orders are included in here. I've done some work with some customers, and so I think you're good there. For AR collections, there is established terms input into NetSuite. There is an actual historical collection timing trend that leads to delta. Something same happens on the payable side, vendor terms versus when actually paid. Can NetSuite analyze historical timing based on actuals? No. I wish it did that too. I've looked at a tool that did that, so I'm pretty sure that NetSuite doesn't have that at this point. But there is a tool on the market that does that. Good grief, boy, we have a lot. All right, that is all I have for right now for open questions, I think. Does the cash forecast pick up any outstanding purchase order? Yes, based on the terms. Okay, I got that. Oh my gosh, it's still going down. Hold on. All right, that's all I have. Very cool, I think.
Awesome.
Let me see.
Thanks, Rocky.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Rocky, again for a great presentation today. If we didn't have time to answer your questions, we will do our best to follow up with you after the webcast. Here's a link to an online survey where you can provide feedback for today's presentation. Please take a moment to complete this survey as your feedback is very important to us. Please also visit mossadams.com for future webcasts and other resources to help elevate our performance upward. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll join us again next time.